Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast, Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan talking a little bit more about what I was trying to tell Jimmy Dore about. He's sitting down with Mike Baker. You know what this is on this channel. We have an ongoing thing saying that it's either this ex-CIA guy who's Joe's handler, or it's Jamie, or maybe it's me. Oh, you'll never know. But they're sitting down, they're talking about this whole thing. They're talking about a bunch of different stuff. They're touching on, and listen, ex-CIA, if you watch this channel, you know how I feel about someone who's ex-CIA. I'm like, I don't know about this. But he starts bringing up some stuff that's actually factual in regards to where this funding is coming from. He mentions a bunch of different places, from the Tide Center, Open Society Foundation. He even mentions some NGOs that I've never heard of. I went and fact-checked all of it. I'm going to be showing that to you guys. It's a very interesting rabbit hole that I get sent down here, and it kind of shows a very good connection between Soros at the top all the way down to what we've been seeing on these campuses. Let's get into it. And also, at the end of this video, I'm going to be playing a clip of George Soros, and he's handing over this whole thing to his son. His son says something wild, and I will show that to you at the end. He's a little new to this whole, demon elite thing, so he's saying the quiet part very loudly. So I can't wait for you guys to see that as well. Let's get into it. Don't forget about the new channel I got. Link in the description. It's where I break away from the Rogan content. We got 68 videos. Check that out. And anyways, guys, let's get to the Rogan clip.
Problem is, people are talking about civil liberties and, invasion of privacy. And, so you've got some students out there and they're covered. And next thing you know, they're identified, right? Now they're suspended. And, fine.
Not only that, some of them aren't getting to graduate. And this one girl, I was watching this video where they just told her she couldn't graduate because she got arrested.
Well, you know what? You what do they say? You play stupid games.
Yeah, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, so
they all think they're doing something great. They think they're going to fix it. It's a lot of misplaced energy with tents.
With tents, yeah, and with matching tents, and that's the part. Look, hey, God bless the actual students who are out there feeling like they're being a part of something. I get that they're young people. Most of them are gormless, right? They're just saying whatever, right? This is their moment to shine. So they're excited. So they don't, and most of them couldn't find Gaza on a map of Gaza. So I think that. That's one side of it, right? And I can't, whatever. But it's the coordination of it all by the various outside groups and the activists and the funding of it, right? And the potential for that funding and the coordination to tie back to groups like Hamas or Hezbollah, which basically means you're tying back to the Iranian regime, right? Because that's the only reason those groups exist. But nobody seems curious about that because a lot of the media wanted to portray this as just like kids being kids. Oh, look at this is their moment to shine as student activists, and isn't it wonderful? And it's their Vietnam protests and bullshit. Some of it, okay, fine. So it's layered, right? So some of that's true. You got those kids that are just doing that, but there's the incuriosity of the media to say, well, what the hell's behind this, right? And what groups is it? Students for Justice in Palestine? Is it U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights? Sammy Dune, right, which has connections back to Hamas. There's Education for whatever, Just Peace in the Middle East. There's groups that have been actively engaging in this. And that's why you get the coordination of all of this, right? But nobody asks, okay, what's behind it? It's just students acting. No, it's not. It's a coordinated effort. And then you look at those groups who are always active in this realm, right? And always looking to have organizations disinvest from Israel or to promote causes that are anti-Israeli, right? And then you say, okay, well, who's funding it, right? So you look at these groups and you say, okay, where's the money coming from? And the money's always coming from the same places, right? The Tide Center, right, which is part of the Tides network, which gets significant funding, no surprise, from Soros's Open Society Foundation. You get Westchester People's Action Coalition. So you get these groups, and then you get the legal support. So all these people, the activists who are getting arrested, they can turn to Palestine Legal, which provides legal support to the activists and the NGOs that are engaged in all this. Again, they're getting their money from charities. A lot of times the charities don't know they're putting money into these groups, right? It goes into the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, right? And the Rockefeller Brothers Fund provides money to these NGOs, like Justice for Palestine or whatever. And then and Rockefeller Brothers gets funding from Soros, Open Society Foundation as well.
That guy.
That
Seems to be a
guy.
bit of a problem.
Right. Well, yeah, and now his kid is even more of an activist than George is, right?
Of course.
His kid is,
Kid inherited it.
Kid
So he's
inherited
gotta
it.
Make
right.
up for the fact that he inherited it by being extra woke.
But yeah, and he is.
And
right?
extra guilty.
Oh, God.
For having all those billions. You should feel guilty, you little fuck.
Yeah, exactly. God. How can you live with yourself, young Soros?
What you're talking about, though, is a very important point, that this is not organic. And that
Exactly.
this is what I was going to get to earlier when I was talking about social media. How much do you think foreign governments have an influence on certain trends and certain things that people are talking and promoting and pushing and being a part of on social media? Because I think it's a big factor. I think it's a big factor with a lot of things. And I think it's a big factor with all this, the most insane woke shit. I think they push it as far as they can so that the stuff that's not as insane, that was insane just a couple of years ago, seems less insane now. It seems more palatable. And then they just keep moving the goalpost.
Yeah.
And I think you can do that through social media with kids. You can kind of engineer what kids accept.
Oh, 100%. And the answer is, how much do they do? They do a tremendous amount, right? Look, the Iranian regime, nobody's happier with these protests on campuses than the Iranian regime, right? And they've even come out. Right? The foreign minister, Khamenei himself, right, the Ayatollah, came out on his official X page, who knew, and praises the protesters. And they talk about the oppression that and the violent tactics of the police, right, in suppressing protests, which is crazy when you think about what the Iranian regime has done to anybody who dares protest inside Iran.
Yeah, they executed a world champion wrestler over there.
Yeah, they constantly, right? And they're trampling of all rights, not just women's rights, everybody's rights, right? So it's bullshit, but people, I don't know, people buy it.
They only have a peripheral understanding of the workings.
Yeah. So
the inner workings of all this stuff.
But then the Russians and the Chinese, they're all taking advantage of this as well, right? Chinese bots have been out there trolling around and promoting the chaos, right? If you were to switch on television, right, in Moscow or in Tehran or in Beijing, you'll get a lot of coverage of these campus protests, right? This is ideal for them. It's exactly what they want. And it feeds into their larger narrative of trying to discredit democracy and say what a losing system it is, right? Capitalism. And so, but again, people are incurious. They're busy. They're trying to just do their lives, whatever. They're not taking the time to sit and think, where am I getting my information from? What's the validity of this information? And if they don't do that, then to your earlier point, we're fucked.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to individual responsibility. You got to focus on where your information is coming from. And, right now, you could argue, I mean, that whether it's the face swapping techniques, whether it's AI that can mimic, and whether it's for criminal purposes or whether it's for state-sponsored efforts to try to put the knife into the American system or the West, it's democratized misinformation, right? It's made it so that everybody can engage in it, not just state sponsors, but everybody, because all those apps are out there, all the abilities out there, and you've got an incurious public for the most part that doesn't take the time.
And an uninformed public. Most of them are not even aware that there's foreign elements that have an influence on our culture.
Yeah, which is shocking if you think about it, right?
It's shocking, but so few people are aware of anything other than what's going on in their own life and what's going on at work.
Well, life is messy and it's tough, and you're trying to raise kids, and you're trying to put food on the table. You don't have time. And
I talked to some of my friends about this stuff, and their eyes glaze over.
Yeah,
they don't even want to know. I'm busy, bro.
Yeah, but you know what it does? Look at the state of, look how dysfunctional we are right now, right? I mean, this is remarkable. At times, and again, everybody wants to think it's always the worst time, right? It's not the worst time, right? We've had worse times. Civil War, I think, was pretty bad. So we've had more dysfunction, I suppose, at times, but the technology speeds it along, right? And we just have more people, so the potential for more of a shit show is there. But that is ultimately when people always talk about, well, you can't just use detection. You can't be on the defensive all the time, trying to identify, okay, that's fake, right? You got to rely on people, right, to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy everything I read, right? I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to think about it a little bit, and I'm going to chill the fuck out. But it's not in human nature apparently right now. So yeah, we've got a problem, and those nations, particularly Iran, China, and Russia, are having a field day right now, right? We are making it very easy for them. And think about it, we got the fucking election coming up in November.
Yeah.
So think about what that means in terms of disinformation, and it's remarkable. We live in a very interesting time. I think we're going to be fine. It's a very resilient environment, I suppose. But so I try to be positive, but
it's fraught with peril.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this from a perspective of someone who kind of understands all these different influences and all the things that are happening in these universities. What can be done to sort of like unwind some of this fuckery, if anything, at this point? I mean, are we just going to operate from here on out with this understanding that our kids get indoctrinated to this preposterous, ridiculous way of thinking, where they're taught these Marxist, Leninist ideas as if they make any fucking sense and that they've ever worked anywhere, and if they don't always lead to totalitarian, authoritative governments that take over and enforce all these socialist policies, which is a fucking nightmare that happens in every single regime. When they go socialism. So what can be done to sort of like unwind some of this bullshit in colleges and balance it out a little bit? Like, there's nothing wrong with having ridiculous ideas, as long as those ridiculous ideas can be challenged. But if you're the only one that gets to talk and you just indoctrinate these kids and no one comes along and says, hey, you've never even functioned in the fucking real world. Like, this shit that you're teaching these kids, unless they go into academia, they're fucked. Or you're going to ruin corporations with this ideology, because it doesn't jive with capitalism. It doesn't jive with, and oh yeah, we got to tear capitalism down. Okay, well then what, you fucking idiots? Then no one has any incentive to get anything done? Well, that's great for you because you've never done anything. So you think all these people that did things, even if you don't agree with them, even if it's Bill Gates, he still built that fucking company. That's his. He did it. Do you want to be that guy? Then go do what he did. If you
don't be Bill Gates. Let's stop it there. Don't be Bill Gates, guys. I know what he's trying to say, but also, we all know what Bill Gates is about. Don't be Bill Gates, guys. But he's right? A lot of people who want these ideologies to come through in America, to really populate in America, they just don't understand. They wouldn't even, if they got the system that they wanted, they wouldn't even be able to speak out the way that they are. Just that right there. You wouldn't be able to do it. They would stop you, you know? So Tide Center, Westchester, Rockefeller Brothers. The one thing I couldn't find that Mike was talking about was Haimimi Atola. He said that he tweeted and he was praising. I couldn't find any tweet like that, any such tweet, unless it was done through the Iranian government or something like that. Not really sure what he was talking about in regards to that, but there is a whole bunch of other stuff. Let's just start right at the top. This is, play stupid games, you find out, F around and find out. Everybody knows that, but it is kind of sad to see one of these people, because the conversation is, well, they're kids. A lot of them don't understand how organized it is. Some of them just come because they're like, hey, let's do our part. There is oppression happening somewhere. Like, let's show up for this event. Some of them, it's just like, hey, you want to come? Yeah, let's go. She might have been one of those people, and now she's in this situation. This is the girl that Joe Rogan was talking about, who found out she's not going to graduate. Let's listen to this.
I mean, I'm a little disappointed. I'm being restricted from a lot of things right now that I didn't expect to be for standing up for something that I believe in. I have family coming in who I have to let them know to not come to my graduation ceremonies. I am glad that there is a guarantee that my courses will be taken care of, so I don't have to worry necessarily about my graduation requirements and the fact that I will earn my degree as I have spent the past 4 years doing, but I'm just disappointed. I mean, I'm a 2020 high school grad, so I wasn't able to walk then. And so, here it is. I'm not able to walk now.
Knowing, what you know now, like you said, you were standing up for a cause, would you do it again?
I mean, yeah, I would. I was doing what I believed was right, and I still believe it to be right. I would stand up for the cause again, even if it means something negative to me, because like, the cause is so much harm has been done to all of those people already. I am safe. I am fine. I might not graduate, and that might harm future job prospects and stuff like that, but I'm not I'm not like in physical danger. I'm not constantly worried about being hurt or being forced from my home or anything like that. I would absolutely stand up again and protest again.
Well, good for her. She would do it again. But also, now she has to explain to her parents, and it's sad to see, honestly, because, a lot of these kids are getting taken in. The thing is, Mike mentions something called Students for Justice in Palestine. They are connected to the Tide Center. Like, I'm going to show you all their connections and everything. Some of these kids who show up don't know about those connections or groups. They're just there. So when they get arrested, they don't get the same, they don't get taken care of on the same level as some of these activists, as some of these people who are the organizers, some of these people who understand how all this is working. So sad to see, very sad to see. But again, that's what's going to happen. And I talked about this in many videos, that a lot of these young people don't understand what could happen. Like, she's like, oh, I'm fine. But if you don't graduate, well, then you're just a high school graduate. It's a different world. Believe you me, as somebody, I didn't even finish high school. I had to go through the steps of being like an adult student, and then I had to become a mature student to go to college. And just that alone was like, holy gee, like, it was terrible, everything that I had to go through. And it was like, if I just went and just did things properly. But now she's going to be at that level. She's going to have, it's just... And then maybe you have to do it over again. Maybe you don't, but maybe you have to pay just one more semester, maybe 2 more semesters. But is that another $100,000? So now, instead of your debt being, say $150,000, you're going to come out with debt of $250,000 possibly. It's just not worth it. But who am I to say it's not worth it? It's worth it to her. She didn't actually say Palestinians in the video, though. She just said those people. Not saying she didn't know. Of course she knows. Everybody knows. Just saying. So, Students for Justice in Palestine. So what is this group, right? So Students for Justice in Palestine, pro-Palestine college activist organization in the United States, Canada, and New Zealand. It has campaigned for the boycott and divestment against corporations that deal with Israel, and organized events about Israel's human rights violations. In 2011, the New York Times reported that SJP, founded in 2001 at the University of California, Berkeley, has become the leading pro-Palestine voice on campuses. So we're going to see a video on that right now where they talk about this a little bit more. And the gentleman's going to talk about where they're getting their funding from. And again, this girl may not even know about that organization. She's just going on the goodness of her heart. So now she can't even reap the benefits of saying, hey guys, can you help me out with some legal defense and, get this stuff dropped and these restrictions that I have on me now. She doesn't, it seems like she doesn't even know about that. So let's get into this video. Very interesting video.
You get a sense of there's a lot of obfuscation going on.
Jonathan Shanzer, Senior Vice President at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and former counterterrorism analyst at the U.S. Treasury Department. So we heard the Deputy Police Commissioner, Daughtry, talking about this. The Mayor of New York, Eric Adams, talked about it as well. He said, why is everybody the same? Was there a fire sale on those tents? So there's some organizing going on, a concerted organizing effort. What's the goal of that organizing? That's what we need to be asking ourselves, and of using disgusting terminology. Does this to you, in your previous investigations, appear to be a coordinated effort that's being funded by outside sources?
Absolutely. We've been watching this network now for the last 10 years at Foundation for Defense of Democracies. We started looking into who was behind this group known as Students for Justice in Palestine. And what we found was that there was an organization, an umbrella organization known as AMP, American Muslims for Palestine. They were previously based in Chicago, now based here in Falls Church, Virginia. They are the ones that created this network to begin with. It started with just a handful of campuses. There's now 200 campuses that have SJP. They use a lot of the same rhetoric. They use a lot of the same devices on campuses, the different means of protests. There is a lot of commonality that we see nationwide. They have been wielded as a student army by this group, and we're now seeing it reach a fever pitch.
And who is funding them?
Well, that's an interesting question because AMP is a corporate not-for-profit. It's not a C3. They have a fiscal sponsor called Americans for Justice in Palestine. You get a sense of there's a lot of obfuscation going on. There's also there's a nonprofit in White Plains, New York called Westpac that gives to Students for Justice in Palestine. An obfuscated money trail, to put it mildly, but we can see that there are organizers behind all of this, and then a broader network of organizations that are supporting it as well.
And what's the ultimate?
So, just wanted to show that. But, you know, even that guy mentioned an organization that he's with. If you ever want to know, right, because that's what you really have to do when you hear someone say, oh, I'm with this organization, and this organization does this and this and this. I just found this site. It's called NGO Monitor, right? And you can check whatever side of this you fall under. You can find the NGO, like maybe it's a group that's like an Israeli group that's called Stand With Us, and you want to look into them and see where their money comes from. Maybe it's the Students for Justice in Palestine. You want to see where their money comes from. So it's very interesting to just check some of this stuff out. So here you go. So Students for Justice in Palestine. Let me shrink my screen a little bit here. Calm down for you guys. Basically, you come here. So you see this. You see when it was founded and everything. They talk a little bit about the organization, but then you could come down here, non-transparent funding, Westpac, which he talked about, Westpac Foundation. Let me just highlight it for you. Westpac Foundation, a Westchester, which Mike was also talking about, a New York-based organization registered with the IRS as a 501c3 nonprofit, serves as the sponsor for. So that's one, and they actually do get their money from Soros. Not all their money. Anytime somebody says this place is financed by Soros, you have to understand that it's not all Soros. It's not all the Open Society Foundation that's giving all of the money. It's various people. A lot of the times Open Society will be at the top in terms of how much money's given because they have a lot of money to throw around, but it is various people. So when you hear somebody saying someone's funded by Soros, it's not always just Soros, you know? He's just the one that stands out because he does it so much everywhere. Anyways, again, Sorry, just so you guys know what I'm looking at here. So this is Jewish Voice for Peace. So that was also a company, right? So that's the company, non-transparent, reporting a budget of $3 million in 2021. Jewish for Peace, blah, blah, blah. Who's giving them their money? Well, was able to identify approximately the U.S.-based donors that account for the money details. Let's check that out. I will check that out in a second. Let's work our way down just because I want to see. So it's a bunch of them. So then we have another one that's known. This is a pro-Palestine. Again, it's within our lifetime. Let's go down here. Who's financing these people? Again, it goes to Westpac, which you brought up. Westchester, again, is one of the people. As you keep going down, some more names that Mike was talking about pop up. U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights. You go down here. This is a long one. How many people are giving these guys money? So the U.S. CPR is registered. Okay, it's just telling you about it. Who are the people that give them money? All right. Okay, this one's not saying it as actively. The vast majority of its funding is relatively small donations throughout the country. Total reported in 2021 is 1.5 million. Received almost $250,000 as the education for just peace in the Middle East. So that was another one that he brought up. If you see right here, this was another one that he brought up from 2023 to 2025. That's interesting. And it is the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. You'll see that name pop up quite a bit. So that is somewhere they're getting their money from those people as well. Then we go to actual Westpac, which you've seen a couple of times in the name. Where are they getting their money from? Westpac serves as a fiscal sponsor for some of the NGOs responsible for anti-Semitism on campuses, including Students for Justice in Palestine and Within Our Lifetime. So this is basically just breaking down what they actually do. Okay. So they're saying that, oh, they're responsible for the anti-Semitism. I would look at that as a bit of bias. You know, perhaps this person just views it that way. Maybe it's just a pro-Palestine rally that does exist. They're not always super anti-Semitic. Sometimes they're just like, we don't like Israel. I don't know that that's anti-Semitism myself, but it's hard to find a working definition these days. So you do start to see that quite a bit. Support for terrorism. Okay, go down here. So just to show you those names. Oh, and then we got some more here. Rockefeller Fund. They're just talking about who founded this, who they give money to. They give money to the Jewish Voice for Peace, U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, Palestine Legal, which we're going to get into a little bit. And then what is that last one? If Not Now. So they give, Palestine Legal, $250,000 via the Tide Center. Tide Center we're going to look into a little bit too. Didn't realize that they had some information on them as well. They have some information right here. So the Tide Center, let's just look into this quickly. I didn't plan to go this far down the actual webpage. Again, this is called NGO Monitor, if you want to check that out. The Tide Center, part of the Tides Network, serves as a fiscal sponsor and pass-through, allowing groups without IRS 501c3 status to receive anonymous tax-deductible donations in the U.S. and provides administrative and fundraising support to historically excluded groups. Man, I'm telling you, man, black people don't know about this. Black groups don't know about this. I hope they do. Seems to be a big focus on Palestine and Israel. Palestine Legal and the Abdullah Justice Project are among the NGOs that receive funds through Tides. So let's just get into that. I jumped over here. Oh, there was more. No, let's just jump over here. We're going straight to the Tide Center because this is the one that's directly connected to Soros and connected to the rest of them. The Tide Center is a left-leaning. Let's make this page a little bigger. Just a little bit bigger for you guys. Just a little bit bigger for you guys. Tide Center is a left-leaning, donor-advised fund based in the United States of America. It was founded in San Francisco in 1976 by Drummond Pike. Tides distributes money from anonymous donors to other organizations, which are often politically progressive. An affiliated group, Tides Advocacy, is a massive progressive incubator. Okay. Oh, Tides has received a substantial amount of funding from George Soros, of course. Then I checked out the Tides website. You can check this out. It is tides.org. Tides is spelled Tides. So you can check this out. You're going to see everybody's black or native on here. Not that I have a problem with that. Those of you that are just listening, you can be assured that I am a black person myself. So don't take offense to that. But yeah, this is just the basic website. But when I did a little digging, I found this, which is Palestine Legal, which Mike was also talking about. Then I went to Palestine Legal. You can see here they have a little page on the website because they are directly affiliated. What it is Palestine Legal is an independent organization dedicated to protecting the civil and constitutional rights of the people of the United States of America who speak out for Palestinian freedom. Our mission is to bolster Palestinian solidarity, the Palestinian solidarity movement, by challenging efforts to threaten, harass, or legally bully activists into silence and inaction. Now, that sounds fantastic. It really does. That sounds like a great endeavor. It's founded in Chicago, just so you know. Sounds like a great endeavor, right? And then you go into their website, you can check some of this stuff out. It's all focused, heavily. Then they have a lot of coverage on the current protest. Columbia students file civil rights complaints against NYPD. They just stay up to date on everything. But here's the thing that I realized when I was looking into this, because of what they do and because of that blanketed statement that they kind of have, those people that I covered in the Jimmy Dore response that I made, the Antifa members that were arrested, they have access to this legal counsel too. So as long as they're all there for free Gaza, free Palestine, they all have access to this legal advice, possibly even being defended, something that's a little bit above a public defender, someone who's going to really try hard because it's exactly what their foundation does. So that kind of stuck out to me. So you gotta really understand, and we'll move on here because I went to something called Influencer Watch right here, and I checked it out. But the Tide Center, the Open Society Foundation, finances a substantial amount, as we read, a substantial amount to the Tide Center. The Tide Center pays for Students for Justice in Palestine and also pays money to Palestine Legal. So there's a whole little network here of things going on. So those people who are Students for Justice in Palestine, they activate their campuses. And like you saw in that first video, they have 200 campuses that they're all affiliated with. So they do have this student army. So they can activate the same way BLM did. That's why you saw it pop up in all these different universities out of nowhere, because they were actually communicating with one another. Like, okay, we're going to have rallies. Let's go. Get the tents. That's why the tents are all the same. Get the signs. That's why the signs are all the same, because this is actually what they do. So they activate, and any students who get caught up in the whole thing, they just get indoctrinated into it right away. It's like, you want to be a part of this? You want to help these people? Here's a picture of Gaza, here's a picture of this, here's a picture of that. They're going to pull on your heartstrings, but that student army is activated. Palestine Legal makes sure to defend them no matter what happens to them, even if they're violent, it doesn't matter. And then the financing is coming from the Tide Center, coming from the Open Society, which is coming from George Soros. Just so you know. And this is real. That's why I'm going through all this so meticulously, because it's actual. Right? So I was here, and the way that I do my research, I was just like, okay, is it connected to the Open Society Foundation? I put Control F. If you don't know, Control F is find. I just put in the word open, and then we just went here, check it all out. Let's see the top thing that popped up here. So there's 4 instances where it says open. All of them have to do with George Soros and the Open Society Foundation. Tide Center also accounts for major left of center foundations, such as donors including W.K. Kellogg Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and George Soros Open Society Foundations. So all of those people, knowingly or unknowingly, help finance those type of protests that are going on. And also, it's hard to find the article again, but I even found articles where they were seen actually funding pro-Hamas rallies as well. But I do not brand every pro-Palestine rally and protest as a pro-Hamas protest, because I think that's not the right thing to do. That's a very Ben Shapiro thing to do. He's right along with that. So they do give to some other causes as well. The fund of the city of New York, Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, Homeless Youth Alliance. There's a bunch of different things they do. So Child Welfare Innovations Corporations, the New America Foundation. I couldn't find anything on that, but I really want to know what that is. So just to show you there, that is where they're getting their money. And then I can just go here. So they get their money from 2 places. This is a list of their donors. You go down here. Boom, you find that Foundation to Promote Open Society. And then we actually go to those things because there was 2 of them. Apparently there's 2 open societies. So this is the first one, Foundation to Promote Open Society. And I was like, maybe this is a different one. It was founded in New York. It shows the tax ID. Again, this is Influencer Watch. Like, look at all that stuff at the top of the screen. That's the website. That's the location, right? Tax ID, tax exempt status, their budget, expenses, what they made, like everything. So, and then private grant making foundation, everything. Chairman, Go a little lower, it says Chairman George Soros. That's soon going to change to Alex Soros, and I'll give you a little information on that. But just so you know, I'm not making stuff up. The foundation is to promote open society. It is one of two major grant-making foundations founded by liberal financier and billionaire George Soros. Okay, and then we move on to the next one. Again, we're on the same website, Influence Watch. Check this out here. Bang. Right, same thing. Same. Just scrolling down here just to show you, not making things up. Again, founded by billionaire financier George Soros. That is where they're getting their money. So I just wanted to show you guys all that. That is actually what's happening. This student army that activates, and again, I keep saying it's not all of them. Not all of them are communists. Not all of them are socialists. Some of them are. The ones leading the rallies are. The ones that activate in these SJP, they are, but not all of them. Some of them are just good kids who just want to protest and just want to see some good done in the world. They understand that they are in a very privileged position to have their parents pay for them to go to Ivy League schools, and they're just like, I have to give back somehow. I have all this white guilt that I'm draped in, and this is how I'm going to relieve a little bit of it. That's seriously what's going on a lot of the time. So just wanted to show you that. The student army, that's Palestine Legal, is the one protecting them. The Tide Center is the one financing Palestine Legal and the student army. The Tide Center gets their money from the Open Society Foundation, and that is ran by George Soros. But it is about to be taken over by someone named Alex Soros. Here's a little video about this right now.
Billionaire financier and philanthropist George Soros has laid out his succession plan, telling the Wall Street Journal that he is handing control of his massive empire to son Alexander Soros. The choice is not an obvious one, as Soros, now 92, once said he did not want his Open Society foundations, known as OSF, to be taken over by one of his 5 children. But speaking of his decision to turn over the foundation and the rest of his $25 billion empire to son Alex, who's 37, the elder Soros said, quote, "He's earned it." Soros is known for his huge donations to liberal causes, something Alex said he plans to continue doing, telling the Journal that he is more political than his father. Said Alex, quote, "As much as I would love to get money out of politics, as long as the other side is doing it, we will have to do it too." The OSF board elected Alex as its chairman in December, and he now directs political activity as president of Soros's Political Action Committee. According to the Journal, the foundation directs about $1.5 billion a year to groups such as those backing human rights around the world and helping to build democracies.
Very, very interesting stuff. Again, he said the quiet part out loud. He really messed up there. He said, as much as I don't like that there's money in politics, he's like, if they're doing it, we're going to do it. Hey, man, what did you just say? This guy doesn't even realize he snitched on one side and snitched on his side. He's like, am I not supposed to say that? My dad said that we were gods. I'm sorry. Hold on. I wasn't supposed to say that out loud, but I can do whatever I want. Hold on a second. My dad has told me since I was a kid I can do whatever I want and that we are gods. I don't understand what's happening right now. Why do I have to answer any of your questions to begin with? I don't understand what's going on. By the time he's 40, he's gonna be silent. He's not gonna be saying anything. He's gonna be just like his dad. He's just gonna be like, I'm not doing interviews. I saw that one interview you guys got from my dad. I'm not doing any interviews. That was probably his last interview. His dad was just like, what did you just say out loud? I just said what we do. If they're doing it, we're going to do it. We finance both sides. I don't understand. What's the problem? Do they not know? Dad, everybody knows. Dad, have you ever Googled yourself? Dad, have you ever looked up your name in YouTube? I'm telling you, Dad, everybody knows. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to show you guys all of that very interesting stuff. And again, it comes from Mike Baker. So I'm like, yeah, okay, there, ex CIA guy. All right. What you have to say. But I looked into it and it checks out. And honestly, it's checked out with what I've been researching for months, because I was the first person to talk about the connection between these protests and them being co-opted by outside forces. I was the first person to talk about it. 100%. Didn't even need Rogan for that one. That's just playing his day. You can just see it. So just, yeah, now other people are starting to see it too. I hope you're starting to see it as well. But always remember, it is not everybody. You can't put that blanket on everybody. It does happen. It has been co-opted, but there's always good people who are just there for what they feel are good reasons. Not to say that it's not a good cause, but if you're just showing up to a protest because your friend called you and you're just like, yeah, I'm up for it, I'm not doing anything, that's not a good reason to be there, especially seeing that a lot of these kids ended up getting arrested. Man, growing up in such a not horrible neighborhood, but I grew up around some rough people. And I grew up around some guys that did some very long bids. And I grew up around people. I think I was the only person that didn't get arrested. When you get arrested, it throws your life out of whack. When you get pulled into the system, because you feel like you're in the system now, but when you get arrested, you are in the system. They're like, you're gonna be here at this time, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. It's like, and you're not even sure of what your fate is. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. So don't get arrested, guys. Take it from me, I'm black. All right. Stupid joke. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm out.